going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we pick up the Frankenstein and the Wolfman saga with the first meeting of monsters in the Universal Monster franchise. This is the fifth installment of the Frankenstein saga and the second installment of the Wolfman saga. Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman from 1943, starring Lon Chaney Jr., Iona Massey, Patrick Knowles, Lionel Atwell, Bela Lugosi, Maria Ospinkaya, and Dwight Fry. What is going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And like I said during the introduction, today is the first of the Universal mashup films. It is the fifth installment of the Frankenstein saga and the second installment of the Wolfman franchise, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. And aside from Abbott and Costello Meets Frankenstein, this was another one of the first ones that I had in exposure to, because I remember going to the Ruth Bach Library on the corner of Bellflower and Carson in Long Beach, California. And in the children's section, they had these small orange hardback books that basically were children's takes on the monster movies. Maybe children's takes isn't the right word, but they were condensed, easy for kids to read, that might be getting interested in things other than Barbies and G.I. Joes and Transformers and whatnot. So they were these little, I don't know, maybe 30 to 40 page books, 50 tops, with pictures in them. And it was brief, condensed versions of the monster movies. And I remember checking this one out quite frequently because, like I said, along with Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, there was something about this that just captivated me and drew my attention in. But that's enough about young JJ back in time in the 80s. Let's get into our movie here, shall we? And as our movie opens, it has been 4 years since the events of both The Wolfman and The Ghost of Frankenstein. And two men break into the Talbot family crypt on the night of a full moon in order to rob the grave of Larry Talbot, seeking some jewelry that was buried along with him. During the robbery, the thieves remove the wolfsbane that has been buried with Talbot, which awakens him from death by the full moon shining on his now uncovered body. Talbot reflexively grabs the arm of one of the grave robbers with a fur-covered hand as the other thief flees from the crypt. Larry is then found by the police in Cardiff, Wales later that evening with a vicious head wound which was administered by his father at the end of the previous film, and is taken to a hospital where he is then treated by Dr. Mannering. Talbot slowly comes to understand his situation, but during the full moon, he transforms once again into the Wolfman and kills a police constable. The next morning, Dr. Mannering realizes that his patient has been roaming about and tries to reason with him, although he is unable to accept Larry's explanation of his curse. Dr. Mannering then allows Inspector Owen to question Larry, who becomes violently irate and is overcome by the orderlies and bound to his bed with leather straps. Not believing his story of being a werewolf, Dr. Mannering and Inspector Owen travel to the village of Leyenwilly in order to investigate Talbot and his story. But while they are away, Talbot escapes from the hospital by biting through the restraints with his teeth, seeking a cure for the curse that causes him to transform into a werewolf with every full moon. Larry leaves Britain and seeks out the gypsy, Mileva, who has minor knowledge of Dr. Frankenstein and feels that he may be able to help Talbot. Together, they travel to the village of Visaria, where Larry hopes to find the notes of Dr. Frankenstein and the remains of his estate and permanently end his own life via scientific means. The villagers of Visaria, though, want no part of Talbot or Mileva or their desire to meet with the deceased Dr. Frankenstein, as they rudely ask them to leave. That evening, an upset Talbot transforms into the Wolfman and kills a young woman, causing the villagers of Visaria to form a mob in order to chase him down. The Wolfman flees towards the ruins of the Frankenstein castle and falls through the burned-out flooring and into the frozen cellars below. When Larry recovers from his animalistic state and begins to wander around, he discovers Frankenstein's monster trapped within an icy chamber. Talbot uses a stone to break the ice and pulls the now revived creature free. Finding that the monster is unable to locate the notes of the long-dead doctor, Talbot poses as a potential buyer of the Frankenstein estate in order to seek out Baroness Elsa Frankenstein, the daughter of Ludwig, hoping that she knows their hiding place. Initially, Elsa declines to assist Talbot, but the pair are invited to the Festival of the New Wine by the Burgermeister. During the festival, a performance of the life-affirming folk song Farola Faroli enrages Larry as Dr. Mannering arrives on the scene. The doctor, having followed him across Europe, attempts to persuade Talbot to return with him to Wales before he has another spell. Talbot refuses to go with Mannering, and the monster ends up crashing the festival. With the monster revealed, Elsa and Dr. Mannering agree to help the villagers rid themselves of the Frankenstein curse forever. The following morning, the couple, along with Mileva in tow, meet Larry and the monster at the ruins of the Frankenstein castle. Dr. Mannering is instantly fascinated by the monster from a scientific perspective. The Baroness gives the notes to Talbot and the doctor, allowing Dr. Mannering to study the notes, and he learns how to drain all the life from both Talbot and the monster, believing that the laboratory can be repaired for the task. In the meantime, the villagers are dismayed to see crates of scientific instruments arriving for Dr. Mannering. Ignorant of Mannering's plan to cure Talbot, the villagers fear another return of the Frankenstein monster, and they begin to grow suspicious. Vasek, the innkeeper, details a plan to destroy the dam overlooking the Frankenstein estate with dynamite and drown everyone within it, in the hopes that this will put a final end to the attacks from both the Frankenstein monster and the Wolfman. The Burgermeister dismisses the idea as nothing but a drunken notion. But Vazek is determined and begins to put his plan into action. Meanwhile, Dr. Mannering begins his experimental procedures of using electricity to drain the life from both Talbot and the monster. But Mannering's scientific curiosity to see the monster at full strength overwhelms his logic. And to Elsa's horror, he decides to alter the machines in order to fully revive the monster. The experiment just so happens to coincide on the night of a full moon, and Larry transforms yet again as the monster regains his strength and eyesight, and both escape their restraints. The monster begins to carry Elsa away, but the Wolfman attacks him, and she escapes from the castle with Dr. Mannering. As our movie comes to its close, the Wolfman and the monster engage into a fight until they are both swept away in the flood as a result of Vazek blowing up the dam. There's a lot to sink our teeth into with this one, okay? For starters, like I said, it's the second story in the Wolfman saga. And as we can see, Larry just wants to be rid of this curse. He seeks out Maliva, who helped him in the first film. She sends him to Frankenstein, who's deceased, unfortunately. Elsa is the only Frankenstein family member still alive, as well as the monster. And Elsa has very little knowledge of what to do because she's never been a doctor. She's never been into science. So that's what's going on in Larry's story. Coming off the heels of Ghost of Frankenstein, you have to remember that Igor's brain was put into the monster's body. Hence, the monster in this film is played by Bela Lugosi, who played Igor in the 2 previous installments. But, once again, they silenced the monster because they felt that hearing the monster talk in Bela Lugosi's voice sounded too hokey. And while I can agree to a certain extent, it seems like they were catering to the average film fan who may just see Frankenstein meets the Wolfman and want to go to the theater and see the show, as opposed to the fan that's been following the story since 1931. Here we are 12 years later from that original story. And if you've been following the films since then, you understand why the monster now sounds like Bela Lugosi. So I think it was bad on their part to silence him. We already heard him speak in Bela Lugosi's voice at the end of Ghost of Frankenstein. So there's no need to mute him here. None. And in my personal opinion, that's the only thing that really holds this film back, is the fact that we once again get a muted monster. Now, I'm also not a big fan of the Farola Faroli song. You know, me and Jeff did a whole show about musical moments and non-musical motion pictures. I very easily could have thrown this in there, but I would have had to slap myself afterwards because I feel like the song kills the momentum of the movie. I understand that maybe producers felt that this was too intense, too serious of a film, and they wanted to kind of lighten the mood there in the middle. But I feel like it brings the movie to a screeching halt, and then it takes a little bit of time to get moving again afterwards. Personal opinion. I'm curious what you guys think, though, out there in movie land, watching this review. Again, Pop, curious to know what you think about this one. let me know. Leave your thoughts and comments over here if you're watching the premiere, or down here if you're watching on demand. When it comes to my review of this one, though, I'm going to give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I do love it almost as much as I love the Wolfman, almost as much as I love some of the other ones. But again, the lack of the monster speaking when those of us that have followed the story already understand why it's Bela Lugosi as the monster now, I think hurt it. And that song smack dab in the middle of the movie just brings the film to a halt. 4 out of 5 stars for me. What do you guys think? Again, if you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Whatever you do, though, when you get out there on that social media, let's try to get those hashtags trending. Hashtag Casa D18 Studios, hashtag Renegades Reviews, hashtag Renegade Returns, and of course, the ever popular hashtag Shenanigans. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade JJ Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag Statboy Approved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews when we return to the Dracula saga for the first time since Dracula's Daughter in 1936. And we take a look at 1943's Son of Dracula, starring Lon Chaney Jr. as Count Dracula, Louise Albritton, Robert Page, Evelyn Ankers, and Frank Craven. You're not going to want to miss out on that one. Right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. Right back here on an all-new Renegades Reviews when we return to the story of Count Dracula. To all my loyal fans and viewers out there tuning in for the premiere, leaving your thoughts and comments over here, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Likewise, all my loyal fans and viewers out there tuning in a little bit later in the day, watching on demand, leaving your thoughts and comments down here. Thank you very much. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate all my loyal fans and viewers out there that tune in on a regular basis. Show me that love. Show me that support. Go back to the archives. Dig up those old episodes of Renegade Wrestling, Dads on Wrestling, Stat Boy Rants, After the Bell with Jeff Meacham, all those good old shows, and watch some of those again to help boost up my viewership hours so I can eventually get monetized, make some money in this endeavor. Thank you very much to each and every one of you that tuned in today and joined me, and I will see you guys next time.